Welcome to Nonprofit Nerd Impact Unleashed. Get ready to dive into the world of nonprofits, where the nerdy passion and unstoppable dedication of those making a real impact is celebrated. Together with your host, Jarrett Ransom, the inspiring stories and game-changing strategies of nonprofit leaders will be explored. Join us to unravel the mysteries of successful fundraising, uncover the secrets to effective advocacy, and nerd out over innovative approaches to solving social challenges. Nonprofit Nerd Impact Unleashed is your go-to podcast for no-nonsense discussions with real-life superheroes of the nonprofit sector. Get ready to unleash your inner nerdiness and discover or rediscover how to change the world together. Now let's dive in and embrace the power of our nerdy side.
All right, get ready because you're about to hear from one of my favorite professional colleagues, also referred to as a friend, Rich Frazier. He's with IPM Advancement and Vision Connect LLC. He's been in the sector 30 plus years, and he also has to him, I would say, like an edge, which I appreciate. I always like edginess. But he also has this great sense of humor. So having a conversation with Rich is always super easy for me. I hope you enjoy some of the nuggets that he shares and how he shares about the perspective of being a people pleaser, which I admitted I am too. And maybe many of you listening are people pleasers as well. But he shared about how wellness, self-care, boundaries, all of that has really changed and what practices he has put into place to support him over his career. So go ahead and take a listen now to Rich Frazier. And of course, another shout out of immense gratitude to this season's sponsor, Fundraising Academy at National University. So hey there, Rich. How are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing good, Jarrett. Nice to see you.
Hey,
It's always good when we get together like this.
I agree. And that's what I love about us. I feel like you and I never skip a beat, even though there could be months, quarters that go by before we chat. But for everyone listening, tell us a little bit about yourself, Rich. Who are you? I always like to start off with a question like, what are the names that you go by? Because I think that often defines us more than our name and our title and maybe what's on our business card. So yeah, let's just dive into the juicy details. What are the names?
Sure. I'm Rich Frazier, and I'll start with the personal side stuff first, right? So I'm Rich. That's what my friends and my family call me. It's what my wife calls me. I'm dad. It's what my kids call me. I've got 3 kids. I've got a 30-year-old daughter, Haven, a 26-year-old son, Jack, and a 20-year-old daughter, Mallory. I'm Mr. Frazier sometimes to their friends. They're all adult, but I got to know all of their friends when they were kids. That comes from years of being a band dad, equipment truck loader, marching contest announcer, and just developing relationships with these fabulous people who are now amazing young adults, but young adults. But that Mr. Frazier took me a long time to get used to when they were in high school. Now they call me Rich. And to a few people, I am still Richard. That,
Ooh,
that handful of high school friends who knew me as Richard growing up because I didn't change it to Rich until college.
right.
And then, Mallory's friends call me Richard
Richard.
because, they like to formalize the name.
Oh,
Um,
that's great.
Yeah. I also go by board member or president because I proudly serve as the president of the Arizona Academy of the Performing Arts, which is the parent organization of Arizona's only world-class drum and bugle corps. Because yes, I am a band geek from way back when, and I'm very proud of the Academy Drum and Bugle Corps. I am Uncle Rich to my amazing adult nieces and nephews, and don't tell my siblings this, but sometimes I like hanging out with them more so than my siblings. But I can't say that too loud because I'm probably going to share this episode with my siblings and they'll listen to it.
And they'll
And I'm,
laugh, I'm sure, because knowing you,
yes,
you've got a great sense of humor. I can only imagine you instilled that same amazing sense of humor within your own kids.
well, yes, but also my siblings produced great kids, and that's why I like hanging out with them. And then on the professional side, I'm also a consultant, certified fundraising executive, board source certified governance trainer, business owner, independent contractor, and a friend. You and I went from zero to friend like in 5 seconds,
I
when
know.
we first met, and we've been friends for over 10 years now, I think. So, and I like to be consistent like that. When I become somebody's friend, I'm your friend. I'm Mr. Loyalty.
I think I still have the heart that says best friends, and I have half of it, and I think you still have the other half of that necklace.
I think you just made that up in case my
Yeah.
wife ever hears this. So
I did, but I just think that's hilarious, which dates me back to when I grew up and those best friend necklaces were all the hit. It was like, oh, you just coveted this friend name. But thank you, Rich, because that does tell us a lot about you. And as we continue to have these conversations, I'm just so grateful to bring you in as a dear friend, a trusted colleague. You and I want to say, have very similar paths, whereas we have spent years, decades
yeah,
behind desk, as an employee, some phenomenal organizations, maybe some that have also been not so phenomenal. I can only speak for myself, but then going into that consultancy space. So, how long have you been in the sector itself, the nonprofit sector?
so I started in the nonprofit sector the day after Labor Day of 1989, so almost 35 years.
Wow.
And I call it having a real job before I became a consultant, the going to work every day and having a boss and having a desk and an office and all that sort of stuff. I had a real job for 21 years. And in that time, I only had 3 jobs, which is really odd for a fundraiser, because we're such a transient bunch. We stay in our jobs for 2, maybe 3 years, but I was there, and I was really proud of the places that I worked. That, and I'm lazy when it comes to looking for a job. I hate starting a new job. I hate being the new kid on the block, right? So I worked at the Walton Arts Center in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Actually built and opened the Walton Arts Center in Fayetteville, Arkansas, at Arizona State University for 8 years, and Catholic Healthcare West, which is now Dignity Healthcare, for 9 years, and those were my 3 jobs for 21 years. And then I became a consultant in 2010. Took me a while to figure out what I was doing. I think that's true for many of us in the consultancy world. It's tough going from having a job and consistency and a paycheck to figuring out how to run our own businesses and how to understand ourselves and understand what we're good at, to understand where our lanes are, to be confident enough in ourselves to say, yes, I can give you advice and you should listen to my advice. My wife and I were in an antique store the other day, and a couple of months ago, and we saw this desk sign. It says, "I learned from the mistakes of the people who followed my advice." I thought it was hilarious. Probably not the best thing for a consultant to be laughing at, but
Did you
I
buy
think
it?
you'll. No, I did not, but
Did you
I
take
took
a
a
picture?
photograph of it.
Good.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
But
think that's great.
sometimes it takes a hot minute, to kind of figure yourself out, especially if you're an entrepreneur and a business owner and a consultant, because in the real world, when you're in the job, you're doing all the things.
All the
You're,
things.
and you're probably a lot like me. I did all the things. I was the development director. I was the executive director. I've been a board member for 26 years. So I looked through the sector through a lot of different lenses, right? And on the job, did the annual fund, did the major gifts, oversaw employees, reported to senior management team and the CEO, was the executive director for a long time. And so when you step out into consulting, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
am I supposed to do all the things now, or am I supposed to pick a lane, or
Yeah.
maybe a couple of lanes? And for me, I think I was trying to do all the things. And it took me a few years to figure out I don't have to do all the things. I know friends, I have other people I can refer to. I can pick my lanes and become an expert, and or, as close to an expert as I can be.
I had a very similar experience. So this is my 15th year of the Rayvan Group and having my consultancy working exclusively with nonprofits. But as you just mentioned, Rich, you have worn a lot of hats. I wear a lot of hats. You're still wearing a lot of hats, right?
Yeah.
Like both are. I'm really curious because you had mentioned we're a transient community, which is true. I see a lot of that change. I did it myself, especially within the employment side. And then now I love the consultancy side because that is to be expected. It's to be
Yeah.
expected to change the work that I'm doing, the clients, whatnot. But I would love it if you're willing to talk to me how you've navigated wellness of your own throughout these decades of your career, how you've navigated perhaps boundaries that you've needed to put in place because not only have you been in your career, but as you said, a husband, you have children, you have been very involved in the band life. Like how has this taken shape over the career and the lenses that you've seen of our sector, wellness, self-care, burnout, boundaries, any of that you can speak of to maybe how you've seen it change and evolve? What has really stood out for you? So the question is like, what has really stood out for you over the course of your career when it comes to how you in particular have managed your own personal health and wellness, maybe set some boundaries so that you can navigate all of the names that you so proudly shared with us earlier, right? Like, what have you seen over your career that has stood out of, oh, I used to do this when I started, and now that is a hard line no?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes with emotional maturity and emotional intelligence and just understanding or just growing up, right? And just giving myself permission to say no.
Mhm.
For me, drawing a boundary and self-care is something that it took me a while. I'm a people pleaser. And so when somebody asks me to do something, my first instinct is always to say yes, and it has been until recently, I would say the last 5 years or so. And I just turned 60 last month, right? And I am to the point now where, okay, I'd love to help you out, but let's figure out when I can do it and when it makes sense. I want to do it to where it makes sense for you, but it has to make sense for me too. And so self-care and relaxation is very important for me. So to paraphrase Timothy Leary, I do like to tune out and turn off.
Love
I
it.
do. And I make a point to do it every single day. I understand that I'm extremely privileged to do what I do. And so are you, right? We work from home. My commute when I leave home is very often to get on an airplane and go to another state and visit a client, right? So I take naps.
I
I
love
didn't
it.
get to take naps when I had an 8 to 5 or 8 to 7 or whatever the hours were. So I have become very proficient in the 20-minute power nap. It can do wonders to clear the brain and refresh the eyes, re-energize the body. I shut down at the end of the workday with very few exceptions. I am not reading emails at night. I typically don't read them over the weekend. I leave my little home office cave. I'm going into the kitchen. I'm fixing a cocktail. And by the way, it's an old fashioned. Um, and I'm making dinner.
Yeah.
My wife and I, for most of the year, we are empty nesters. We still got a daughter in college and she comes home every now and then. But, I enjoy catching up with her at the end of the day. I commune with my pets, right? So after I shower and dress in the morning, when I come out of the bathroom, my cats are waiting there for me to go watch a kitty cat eat, right? So they'll run down the hallway to their food bowls, expecting me to follow them while I sit there and watch them eat and pet them because they like to eat with, their family, just like we all do.
I
And
love that.
I have a one-way conversation with them to acknowledge their existence and stay on their good side because I've thrown away too much furniture because the cats have peed on the furniture. And
Oh,
please, if anybody listening knows another solution than throwing away furniture because the cat has peed on it, please let me know.
Let you
Contact Jarrett. She'll get in touch with me. I have to know this. Um, and then after breakfast, my dogs are waiting expectantly for their walk. This happens every single day. I'm talking about this is a daily thing for me. We'll leash up, we'll make the rounds of the neighborhood, we'll change up our routes so it doesn't become monotonous for any of us, but we'll walk a mile, mile and a half every day. It's a good opportunity for me to catch up on my podcast or an audio book. And so that's my daily stuff. That's what gets Rich in my sort of rich mode. That's how I start my day and get ready for my work day. And sometimes it's how I shut down at the end of the day too. I don't know if that answered your question, Jarrett, but it's how I
Well,
prepped for it.
another parallel is I am also a people pleaser. And I find that many of us in the sector, in the nonprofit sector, are also people pleasers. So
Yeah.
saying no is very difficult, saying yes is very natural. But I'm curious because as a people pleaser, right? And now you mentioned power naps, which I love a good power nap as well. You mentioned you're walking, which I will say living in Arizona, like when do you do that now? Because you have to do it at like 4 a.m, right? Because as we're recording this, actually it's, I don't know, 110 today.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we just get out early in the morning and walk, or
Early.
we wait until after dark. If we wait too late in the morning, then we got to wait till after dark, and the dogs are pissed off about it. So,
Yeah.
and there's
Just
nothing you
work.
can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love all of this because I'm also going to ask you, Rich, were these the same behaviors that you took on early in your career, as you said, 30 plus years ago? Or are these more now behaviors that you've taken on? How did this start, really?
Definitely more now.
Yeah.
And early in the career, both, the regular work life career and the early in the consulting career, definitely a lot more stressful.
Yeah.
And I was not giving myself permission to take a break, permission to relax,
Mhm.
permission to commune with family or pets or whoever else needed some of my time. And probably some relationships um, suffered from that, right? And I think that not all, but many of us who are professionals are guilty of that, right? We are stressed out because of bosses. We're stressed out because of deadlines. We're stressed out because of workloads. And and it's just I think it's a matter of maturity. We grow up and we understand that life has different priorities for us. And sometimes the priority is the work priority, and we all hit it with varying degrees of success, right? How do you handle all the different commitments? And sometimes it's a juggling act and all the balls are made of glass and you can't let any of them fall.
No,
And
I can
sometimes,
see it right now. It's like we're on a barrel in the water, right? And our feet are just going
uh-huh,
as fast as we can. And then we've got the balls. Maybe they're not glass because I don't know if they would break on top of water, but I could just visualize it. And then it's just like, like
yeah.
all of them at one time.
But then there's that thing that needs our focus right now.
Mhm.
And you realize everything else isn't actually glass. It'll bounce back. It'll be there when I'm done. But right now, this thing, whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's my pet, it needs my attention right now. And I'm 100% here for it right now. And everything else, it's got to be put on the back burner.
Timeout. Yep. It
Yep.
just waits.
And it'll be there or it won't be. And if
Mhm.
it's not, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Something else will come along.
That's such a great perspective, Rich. And I very similarly didn't really take the time to prioritize me and my self-care and what I needed. And you know this, I speak openly about my depression.
Mhm.
Um, and you're right, like as an employee, with a, I'm gonna say quote unquote normal employer, right? It's like it's
Yeah.
kind of frowned upon to take a nap at your desk.
I
They
have
don't
done it.
like that. Have you? If anyone's done it, of course it's you, Rich. I love it. Did you get fired?
Not for taking a nap.
Oh, okay. For something better, I guess. There's always more to the story with you. I love it. Okay, so
There's also an NDA, so we're not talking about that.
there you go. So you spoke about privilege, and I'm glad you did, because again, as we're recording this, I literally just got back from a 2-week European vacation.
Go
Very,
you.
yeah, opportunity for me. And went to the Jameson Museum in Dublin, so that was amazing. Got to do some of the local things. But I want to turn this to you, because I also love that you and your wife take some amazing adventures, and you probably
We
have
do.
one coming up soon. So I want to ask, like, when was your last vacation, or when you just completely unplugged, if you unplug, and or when is your next one? What does that look like?
So two recent vacations. So my wife is a teacher and we do spring break, right? And sometimes uh, sometimes her spring break aligns with the youngest's college spring break, and we grab her and we'll go to the beach or something. But lately they haven't aligned. So Carol and I will hit the road. We'll go on a road trip, and we love road trips because it gives us time to literally unplug. We're in the car and we are listening to Bruce Springsteen, or we're talking to one another, or doing both.
Yeah.
And we like national parks, right? So we love to get out and hike and just be out in the wild. My family worries about us because we can get lost on the trail, but not really lost, because they're trails. We'll find our way back, but intentionally lost. But we love to go out and hit the trails. Last year we did all the national parks in Utah, which was just a blast. This year we went to Death Valley and Joshua Tree in California. With a break in between, we went to Santa Barbara for some beach time and a wine tour, which was pretty incredible. So we really enjoyed that. And then not long after that, I went solo to my brother's house in Indianapolis, where all of my siblings converged for the total solar eclipse, which was life changing. And now I'm looking for ways to get to Morocco in a couple of years. I'm not sure the exact date. It's published on Google. I can look it up. I just don't remember it. But I want to take Carol and go see the next solar eclipse in Spain or Morocco or both or whatever. But that was
It's
so totally
cool.
cool. Yes, it was. I thought I'd seen a total solar eclipse before, but apparently not,
Not.
because this was mind-boggling.
That's
Aren't,
super
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And so by the time this is aired, I will already be on vacation because as you and I speak today, right now, I'm
Yeah.
2 days away from departure. So
Ooh, and where are you going?
we are going to the East Coast for a family reunion. I'm the last of 7 kids, and my immediate family has been getting together regularly every 2 years since 1973.
That is
Because
commitment and fantastic.
yeah, it is a commitment. It is fantastic. We kind of all grew up separately. Just
Mhm.
strange circumstances. When I was a kid, I did not grow up with my older 3 siblings in the house. So, we have just made it a point to all come together. Mom and dad are gone now, so now it's the siblings and the G4 and five, G3 and 4, generations 3 and 4. So yeah, it's fun to all come together, and we don't live near one another. So when we do come together, we still like one another and we have fun. And there are very few arguments. So it's kind of cool to do this. So we're looking forward to it.
And tell me, where on the East Coast?
We are going to St. Augustine, Florida.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
So just planning these things is a bear. It's a hassle. So we have been to this place before. We have been to this house before. So it's just easy to just
oh,
do
that's
this one.
good. Yeah.
Typically, we try to find a new place, a new place, a new place. But no, we just got to the point where let's just do easy. Let's do the same place that we've done before.
That's great. Well, you've given us so much insight, so many nuggets of information. I really appreciate, Rich, like how you have really just open up to share over the 30 plus, years that you've been in the sector. I know you've seen a lot. I say I'm 20 plus, so like 15 as a consultant, and then the other years really behind somebody else's desk. And so to see how wellness and self-care and boundaries has evolved over time, I always find it fascinating to hear from other people like yourself. If you saw me looking away from you, it's because I was taking my own notes of like, oh, I love this and this and that. The power naps, definitely. Your matter of maturity definitely hit home for me. I'm not quite sure how mature I am at this point, but I know it's progress, right? Not perfection.
Yes, absolutely. And I can I just throw something else in here?
Please, yeah.
When it comes to sort of relaxation and just sort of checking in or checking out or whatever, and just sort of taking care of ourselves. I had dinner with a friend of mine. I was on one of my business trips, but I hooked up with a friend while I was there, and we went out to dinner, and he said something that was really kind of cool because he was talking about counseling his son
Yeah.
about his free time. And he said, he was talking to his son, he said, son, there's producing and there's consuming. And I thought, that's really cool. What are you doing with your free time? Are you
Yeah.
consuming? Are you watching TV and playing video games? Or are you producing? Are you out there making music or doing art or woodworking or something? And all of that is okay. All of that is okay. It doesn't matter what you do, but just understand what you're doing, right?
Wow.
And it was really helpful to me to put those things into categories. So my brother got me into woodworking recently, and I always consider myself sort of a jack of all trades, right? So I'm a musician. I like to paint, and now this woodworking. So these are sort of producing, but I also love sitting on the couch and watching television. I
Same.
love marching band contests, right?
Yeah.
So those are consumables. So
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what it is that you like to do, just understand what it is, right? And what category it goes into. Maybe find a good balance there of
Right.
producing and consuming.
Of both. I wrote that down as well. Producing or consuming. That's one that's going to stick with me. Well, for many people listening that are like, okay, I need more of this sage advice from Mr. Rich Frazier. Where should people look for you on, this amazing internet connection that we have? Any plugs that you want to share with us about Rich, who you are, what you do, where we can find you?
Oh, well, you can find me professionally at visionconnectllc.com or ipmadvancement.com.
Yep.
I'm not terribly active on the socials. If you find me on X or Twitter, congratulations, because I'm on there, but I keep a low anonymous profile. I like to cruise TikTok, but John, I'm an observer mostly on TikTok. Please don't take that away. Don't take my TikTok away, Congress. Come on, man. Do
That's a
better.
consumer for you. You
It is,
definitely
oh, I'm a
TikTok.
big consumer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'm not too big. I'm not heavy on the consumable I'm sorry, on the socials. You are incredible. I have to give you props. You are incredible on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my kryptonite. I look forward to the day I retire and I can stop worrying about keeping up on LinkedIn. So that's just me. So you're not going to find a lot of me on LinkedIn. I'm on there, got a lot of connections. I'm not very active. So
If you need to find Rich on LinkedIn, find me. I'll find Rich.
there you go. Yeah.
Well, Rich, this has been so much fun. I hope that you and your wife have a wonderful time on your upcoming vacation, or currently now, as people are already listening to it, you're there. You're already
I'm
in
here.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
currently, I know it's so weird how time works, but I am currently probably sipping a bourbon drink.
I
So,
love it. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing with us. Thanks for being here. And thanks for all you do to strengthen and support our communities across the globe.
Jarrett, thanks for having me on. Thanks for making me feel awkward by talking about myself for so very long. But again, it's my favorite topic. I like to do it anyway. So
I'm here
it's
for it.
always a pleasure to hang out with you. Thanks, Jarrett.